The UN recently released this big report on the extent of the child sex abuse and rape and molestation and all that stuff that went on in the Catholic Church. And it was gigantic. I mean, the amount of abuse was unreal, and then people covering it up and covering up the cover-ups, and it was amazing how they rallied, around each other, circled the wagons, and didn't let anybody get in trouble for these hideous crimes. And well, now the Vatican decided to respond to this bombshell UN report that really called them out and explained what was happening. And basically they said, you're prejudiced against Catholics, and that's why your report was harsh. So not only do they think that they didn't do anything wrong, they think that they are the victims. And why would the UN out of nowhere decide to have an anti-Catholic bias or an anti-Vatican bias? Like they're sitting around one day and said, we could focus on poverty or the lack of health care or the need for vaccines around the world, but instead let's write a report saying fuck you to the Catholics. No, they don't have they're not nefarious and they're not against you from the beginning. They looked at the evidence and they reported on it. That's what they do. So, the more I read about this story, the more I think Bill Maher put it best. I mean, again, not only did these guys, they think they didn't do anything wrong, but they also think they're the victims. And it's the exact opposite. They get away with more because they're a religion.
Whenever you combine a secretive compound, religion, and weirdos in pioneer outfits, there's gonna be some child fucking going on. In fact, whenever a cult leader sets himself up as God's infallible wingman here on Earth, lock away the kids. Which is why I'd like to tip off law enforcement to an even larger child-abusing religious cult. Its leader also has a compound. And this guy not only operates outside the bounds of the law, but he used to be a Nazi and he wears funny hats. That's right, the Pope is coming to America this week, and ladies, he's single. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bill, you can't be saying that the Catholic Church is no better than this creepy Texas cult. For one thing, altar boys can't even get pregnant. But really, what tripped up the little cult on the prairie was that they only abused hundreds of kids, not thousands all over the world. Cults get raided, religions get parades. How does the Catholic Church get away with all of their buggery? Volume, volume, volume. If you have a few hundred followers and you let some of them molest children, they call you a cult leader. If you have 1 billion, they call you Pope. It's like if you can't pay your mortgage, you're a deadbeat. But if you can't pay 1 million mortgages, you're Bear Stearns and we bail you out. And that's who the Catholic Church is, the Bear Stearns of organized pedophilia. Too big to fail. When the current Pope was in his previous Vatican job as John Paul's Dick Cheney, he wrote a letter instructing every Catholic bishop to keep the sex abuse of minors secret until the statute of limitations ran out. And that's the Church's attitude. We're here, we're queer, get used to it. Which is fine, far be it from me to criticize religion. But just remember one thing. If the Pope was, instead of a religious figure, merely the CEO of a nationwide chain of daycare centers where thousands of employees had been caught molesting kids and then covering it up, he'd be arrested faster than you can say, "Who wants to touch Mr. Wiggle?"
That last point there says it all. That if we're dealing with a national chain of daycare centers and there was systematic, organized child fucking going on, it would be the biggest scandal in American history. It would be shut down. Everybody there would be arrested. It would be an outrage. It would be, a blemish on the mark of the United States of America around the world for years to come. But when it's a religion, don't let a few bad apples spoil the bunch. No, nothing to see here, guys. It's okay.